Hello, comic book junkies. It's the Frog Queen here, and today I'm doing an advanced review of the new Image comic book series, Outpost Zero, by Sean Kelley McKeever. I think I'm saying that right, of Inhumans and Mary Jane, Incredible Hulk, and basically a lot of Marvel stuff, and illustrated by Alexandre Tefenkgi. I think I'm saying that wrong for sure. But anyways, he's the artist of Jumpstart and various Harley Quinn series. This series, however, debuts July 11th. So, there's of course a lot of science fiction out there right now, and I try to read most of it, not always, because man, there is some really mediocre science fiction going on right now. And when I first started reading this, that's kind of one of the first things I thought. But first impressions aren't always what they seem, so let's get to the nitty gritty. So, when I first started reading issue 1, I realized that I had zero idea what is going on, and I'm pretty sure every reader is going to feel that way. I don't know what world this takes place in. There is no introduction included to tell me anything about this world or this universe, and we are completely flying blind into this human creation. Unless you go and read the synopsis on the Image Comics website. It's about halfway through the first comic where you learn that this odd dome that they live in is actually on this ice planet, housing humanity who are, or were at one point, looking for a new place to inhabit, and they kind of bunkered down here and got stuck. They hadn't really explored further. But their situation on the frozen planet, or possibly it's a moon, or hell, it could be an asteroid, we don't know. The situation is very precarious, and we find out there's a large object referred to as a cell, which is about to collide with the dome. And unfortunately, they aren't super clear on what the cell is. It isn't until some panels later where a kid goes, "Hey, isn't that the storm that put your folks on ice?" And some of the kids' parents, they actually work outside the dome in what's called the frost. So anyway, that's when I figured out, oh, they're talking about a storm cell. And I said them to explain that properly, right? Now, apparently 10 years earlier, another cell hit the dome and about 100 people died. And we also know that the population control was apparently a pretty important part of this whole biodome thing. You do have parents, you do have children, people are procreating, but it's all very, very controlled. Okay, so let's talk about the artwork for a second. It's lovely, but it's kind of boring most of the issue, and that is because you don't get to see much of the world that these people live in. The majority of the panels are just people talking to each other, which is fine, but a couple more panels thrown in there that help you build a picture of what kind of environment these people live in would have really been nice. When the plot does get interesting towards the end of the issue, there's a few panels that hint at what kind of world we're in, but it's mostly swirls because storm. On a slightly more political side, I wanted to talk about race and gender because it's all the focus on comics lately. And most of the characters in this story are people of color, so it's not a sea of pasty white characters out in space. And this is the point of contention for many people and myself. The story is written by a white dude from Marvel. And just so you know, this is a sensitive topic because there's this idea that just because there is representation of people of color in mainstream comics, that just means that, oh, everything's hunky-dory. And it's kind of messed up when the big two are just basically getting a bunch of white men to write these stories instead of hiring people of color. Now, the artist of this story in particular isn't white, and this isn't a Marvel book. It's a creator-owned book with Image Comics. And I'm not saying it's wrong to have white people write characters who are people of color. I'm just pointing out facts and saying one simple thing. Getting more diversity in comics should never be about getting white people to write characters of color. That's not diversity. It should be hiring more diverse creators, being people of color, trans folk, and how you can throw women in there too. So that's all I'm going to say on that topic. I know it gets thrown about and argued about in such ridiculous ways over Twitter and all these other things. It's not something I want to bother arguing about because I have a clear picture of what diversity actually is and what it isn't, and I have a clear picture of what's going on in comics and what's not going on in comics. So I don't even feel like there's an argument to be made, but this is what people are arguing about. So there, I've covered it. So all in all, it's not a bad book. It actually goes someplace pretty cool by the end of the issue, and I'm hoping it's not a big fake out. I'm not really big on disaster type stories, but this seems to be going in a different direction despite the whole destructive storm coming. The series seems suitable for all ages, except for a few swears. So I'm thinking 15 plus is probably a good age group. But yeah, I will read issue number 2 to see where this goes, and if the writer is faking me out with that cliffhanger, I'll be really, really fucking angry. Anyway, I think that does it for this review. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks to all my new subscribers. I still have a bunch of interviews to post, so I'm slowly editing those videos. I would actually like your opinion. Do you like these types of videos where it's just the artwork that you're seeing and some random stupid memes? Or do you prefer the videos that I'm actually sitting in front of the camera in? I'm kind of torn between the two, and maybe it's nice to have a good mix of both. I don't really know, but I'd love to hear your opinion, so please do leave some info in the comments below. I'd like to know. And, until next time, read something good, for a change. Jokes.